Hey everyone. Alex, I can hear you all right, I think.
Hello, everybody.
Now I can hear you as well.
There we go.
Nice. Very nice. All right. I see that DIMO has joined us today as well to co-host the event. Should we take one more minute until some more people join and then we can start, I think.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
As always, thanks for hosting. I guess it's time to reshare again. Karina, have we posted in the DIMO Discord at all? Guess maybe let's look at doing that.
All right. Shall we get started, gents?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, and of course, all Deepin drivers coming from both NATIX and DIMO communities. I'm more than happy to welcome you to our second AMA actually with DIMO, which most of you already know and love. So as you know, DIMO has been one of our very first Deepin partners in the space, actually for quite some time now. And I'm really excited to have them back here today so we can delve a bit more into like what's new, what other developments have been done, and as always, talk more about Deepin, right? So for that, we have Alex, DIMO's co-founder, joining us today, and of course, Alireza, our own CEO and co-founder. So welcome again, gents. Glad to have you both here today. Before we start with the main event, I usually want to do like a little housekeeping and give you guys some community updates. So I'll try to keep it short as usual, so we can go ahead with the main event. But yeah, meanwhile, while listening, feel free to post any questions you might have into the AMA post here on X, as well as on our Discord server where we have like a dedicated AMA channel there. We'll be checking them throughout the session, try to answer as many as we can, and at the end, of course, at the end of the session, if time allows, we'll invite some of you up onto stage so that you can ask your questions live on here. So yeah, starting with the updates, first off, to give you guys some background on our growth milestones, we just announced now that we reached 177,000 registered drivers, 456 million events detected, and as well, very importantly, over 90 million kilometers mapped by our app users as of today, which means that we are actually very close to hitting our 100 million kilometers milestone. Where once we hit it, we'll commence our network labs airdrop, which is equal to 1% of our token supply. So yeah, big one, keep pushing guys, and we'll be there in no time, I think. Going next, a while back we announced our new ambassador program called NATIX Racers, which will give you all like a more inclusive opportunity to dive deeper into our ecosystem and engage with our products more. It's actually Formula Racing themed, so it's actually quite fun for all of you drivers and racing fans, and also offers quite good rewards and benefits depending on your activity, of course. So if you're interested into that, just go to our website, check the ambassador article on the blog, and you'll find all the info you need there on how to apply, join, and all the other stuff. So yeah, in addition to that, one of the major announcements that we had in the past month was our partnership with Helium Mobile, which is truly bullish for us, as it basically will enable our users to share mapping data via Helium's 5G network. It will save costs, but also it will provide you guys an opportunity to earn mobile and NATIX tokens at the same time. And lastly, to commemorate basically this AMA and our gathering here today, but also most importantly, the launch of DIMO's flagship product, the newest one, we have decided to give you guys, one of you guys, an LTE R1 device. So in order to join, the rules are quite simple. Follow both NATIX and DIMO accounts here on Twitter. Like and retweet the original AMA announcement. And of course, being part of our AMA here today is one of the requirements. Tomorrow, I'll announce the winners of the giveaway on our socials, and we'll send the winner a DM. So make sure to participate if you haven't yet, so there's still a bit more time left. But yeah, that's it from me. Without further ado, Ali, I'll give you the mic over.
Yeah, thank you, Alvis. Sorry, guys, for the very long introduction. So I think now we're getting into the interesting part. Alex, welcome again. I was just reflecting back before going into, asking you questions and talking about a bunch of new stuff that we've been cooking. But I was just thinking, like, I think DIMO was the first deepened product in our marketplace. And it was a moment for us, I think for you guys as well, where we realized that it actually works very well. And there's this appetite for good deepened projects within our communities. And both of us actually are offering a lot of other deepened products and
Yep.
projects in our marketplaces. So it was quite interesting because you guys were the first partner for the marketplace from Deepen, but it was also a big lessons learned for both of us. That is, it works. And I think for a bunch of other projects from what I saw after they saw our collaboration.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, and thinking about, when we did this a year ago, Deepin was like still kind of a relatively new category, relatively new term. And it's amazing. Like whenever there's a new category like this, whether it's in crypto or even in other areas, you wonder like, does this have legs? Is this industry going to be? Is this category going to be bigger a year from now than it is when we're talking now? And I think it's pretty amazing how much the Deepin sector has grown. I mean, certainly you could argue, and I agree that there's like many areas in crypto, there's some um, more and more questionable quality in some of the things that I've launched and have taken on the DPIN brand. But I think it's just an incredible amount of validation for the space. And I think, the thing I always come back to about what DPIN represents is, we are here proving that crypto, Web3, blockchain, whatever you term, all of that technology is valuable beyond just financial products. When DeFi summer happened 5 years ago, it was amazing. And the narrative was all about how, financial freedom, obviously that goes back to Bitcoin, all about financial freedom, new finance primitives. What we're proving is that so many other industries can be transformed by crypto. And that is what I think over the next 5 to 10 years is going to lead to such a massive transformation in technology and be so bullish for the space.
Agreed. Years ago, I was working for PricewaterhouseCooper. I was actually leading their blockchain, let's say, advisory for Europe. And I mean, back in the time, we were trying to inject blockchain, also as a fan, right, into every business model, into everything, into supply chain, into IoT, and I actually genuinely think like Deepen is the connection there, right? So
Yeah.
DeFi was kind of trying to revolutionize the financial sector, and Deepen is, in my opinion, just trying to bring a lot of, if not everything, from Web 2 into Web 3. So a lot of this, like, um, yeah, I would say a lot of the businesses that are running on a Web 2 model, and I mean, there's a lot of definitions, right? Deepen originally for me was a lot about the combination of IoT and blockchain in one
Yep.
shape or form, but then it got into ride sharing and things like that. So it got bigger and bigger. So yeah, I mean, it's insane how far we have came, basically.
Yeah. So how on and well, I'm happy also to talk about the demo side too, but what's changed like in terms of mission and or anything on the NATIX side? Have you guys learned? Have things changed? Is it still kind of everything we were doing a year ago is exactly what we're doing now, or how has the like big picture evolved?
Oh, actually, quite a few things. So we always knew. I think I was saying this in a lot of my talks. I was saying this that we want to build the largest camera infrastructure in the world because we believe that camera is a super sensor, and this could take any shape or form, from cameras in the car, cameras on the smartphone, drones, and you see a couple of projects doing each one of these things individually. But we wanted to build that vision, and we started with smartphones because it's scalable. I thought you guys are also doing a lot more on the smartphone these days because
Yep.
it's scalable, but you're also doing hardware. So I never said
Yep.
hardware is not the right way to go, but I said, when you can do things with smartphone, probably it's just faster rather than selling hardware. But we're actually tapping into more camera types very, very soon, and we want to go beyond even mapping. So we are right now working on a new product which is a lot, let's say, within the autonomous driving vertical. So we are very much excited for it. And yeah, kind of going that direction. And I mean, the other thing that we have been working on, and I have very good news to share very, very soon, is obviously demand. A lot
Yep.
of different projects, Alex, have been grilled for the demand side. I'm sure you guys
Yep.
too. But
Yep.
here's my take on the demand. I think people always tell you, oh, supply is easy, supply is easy. Show me also somebody. I mean, there are very few projects that have done very good quality, sustainable supply side as well. So,
Yeah.
especially if you do with smartphones, you have retention, stickiness issue, you have a bunch of other factors that you need to figure out. And so there is this product market fit both on the supply side of the story and on the demand side. And many of the times, let's take the example of NATIX or DIMO. If you don't have a good supply side, critical mass, let's say, and a bunch of other things, nobody is even going to look at the data, right? What data are we
Right.
talking about to monetize? So even if I could go back and redo this, I still believe we first have to build a sustainable supply side and demand side, at least for us as NATIX, probably for you guys in DIMO as well, because it's a very similar kind of direction in terms of
Yeah.
data collection and monetization.
Yeah, it's very much similar. The supply side is so key, and when we first met with companies, we've almost 5x'd and we should before the end of the year 5x the number of drivers, vehicles that are connected. So we've been growing very well on the supply side. But a year ago, when we had 10,000 or so cars connected, we got meetings with demand side partners, developers, and enterprises, but they said, "Hey, come back when there's more." And now that we're over 100,000 cars, the conversations come a lot more easily, and the next order of magnitude up will help us talk with even more enterprise partners. And I think there's absolutely a huge shift in the space. Where everyone from investors to your average speculator, your average deep in enthusiast, everyone is realizing how important that demand side is. And so we've been spending more and more time building those kinds of tools. We've gone through a huge account, really wallet upgrade. We realized how important it was to have a more interoperable system for our drivers to interact with other apps that are going to leverage the DIMO data. And the other, this probably doesn't surprise anyone, but we've seen a huge influx of AI companies that are interested in DIMO data. And this is some companies that want to train underlying models with the data, but also many companies that want to build consumer facing products. So these could be maintenance agents that you give your car data to the AI, and it can interpret that data and then give you a chat interface, dealer tools, insurance tools. There's been a ton more interest in AI, and the really important thing is there's some ability to train a model with generic data that's out there in the world, or commodity data, maybe you call it. But what is most valuable to any agent is, can it learn from your data in particular? If you are interacting with an AI agent, if it has 2 years of driving data, or if it has your camera data, real world data becomes so much more valuable. So we've realized, and I'm sure you guys are talking with many AI companies as well, just how valuable this data is to the huge shift in the AI space that we're seeing.
Correct. I mean, it's the same story for us. We are also working very heavily on the demand side. We're actually closing our first customer very, very soon. So more information on that. Yeah, it's going quite well, and we're building a new product, a new vertical, which is, I mean, I just cannot talk about it, but I'm kind of jumping off my chair. So it's going to be very, very interesting, and it's going to add a kind of a new revenue stream for NATIX as well. But the common denominator, I wanted to confirm that it's a lot of AI training, because AI needs data right now. AI needs two things: computation and data. And I think DeepIn is pretty much providing both of those at scale, and with super low cost, with super efficiency. And another advantage of us within DeepIn is, again, we can provide targeted data collection more efficiently than a lot of other Web2 players, right? So as you said, like also when you were 10,000 devices versus 100,000 devices, for us was the same thing. Like we just actually made a coverage map for, not right now, but like 2 months ago, we made a coverage map for one of the potential customers we were talking to, and it blew our fuse and their fuse, that we saw in like a span of, I think, 1 week, we cover over 75 to sometimes 90% of our focus cities, right? We're talking Tokyo, New York, London. I mean, it's insane. And then we did another test. We were like, okay, we have blind spots in the map, so let's try to, in our case, it's important, right, to cover certain streets that there is no data, let's say, in the past 1 or 2 weeks. So we said, okay, let's try to map those. So we have some gamified mechanisms to do that. I'm not going to go into details, but we tried that, and within 24 hours, we mapped all of those too. So yeah, this kind of network coordination, and the fact that we can, localize our network very efficiently is very attractive for AI. I give you one example actually. So, just for some applications, the more data that you have from all over the place, the better. Like, you feed that into something like GPT model. It's a different story. They want as wide range of data as possible. But when it comes to, let's say, our applications, we want to train an AI model that can detect traffic signs in different jurisdictions, right? And these signs are different in the US, Europe, East Asia. And yeah, so it really matters actually. So, the best mapping companies that are out there, they're sometimes very much localized, right? They're very good, let's say, in the US or East Asia, but they don't have good models to process in different jurisdictions. That's why they don't enter that market easily, or it's very hard for them. And this is something that we can do far more efficiently than these guys, or at least help them to do, if you're helping them with the data.
And so, are you guys also running the models yourselves to process that data, or you're just collecting, and then some of these customers of yours are going to they'll have their own specialized models regionally?
Both actually. So, we originally started by running our own models, but obviously there is so much we can do, right? I think AI is right now. So, I mean, I love the fact that AI is getting more and more open source. So we're very appreciative of that, because we can use a lot of these open source components to build our own AI models. But it's too big of a field, Alex, to just us being able to do everything.
Right.
So right now we're talking more and more. And we're getting actually more and more partners, like this new avenue that we are. I'm going to share more information soon for autonomous driving. The AI kind of model that we need for the post-processing of the data is something these guys have been working for 15 years on. They're best in the industry. I mean, look, it's proprietary kind of AI, and we don't have access to it. Therefore, we're working with a partner. But they also cannot collect the data the way that we do. That's why they're hungry for that. So, yeah, so it's 50-50, I would say. We try to do as much of it as possible ourselves, but sometimes it gets too complicated. I can tell you these guys have invested sometimes 100, 200, 300 million dollars into building those AI models. So it's difficult for NATIX at this stage, at least, to do it ourselves. But who knows? In 4 or 5 years, I think the game will be different.
Yeah. I think we've seen a lot of that as well. And in fact, it was kind of funny. We don't really build any of our own models, but I had a couple of these like crypto AI companies and projects reach out to me at DIMO, and they would show up and say, hey, like, you have all this data, can we help you train? And I was like, well, one, we're not in the business of making models, and two, I actually don't have any data. The users have all their own data. And so, we at DIMO, like, the way we're set up is the users have their individual data. They can share it with a company that wants to train AI. They can share it with, any of these folks that are building models if they want to, and if those folks want to compensate them or whatever. And I think, I spoke to a company yesterday that we're now starting to also see, coming back to the DeepIn topic, more cross DeepIn consideration. Like if you're doing something around electric vehicles, well, you probably want some data from DIMO. You probably want some ability to train models on visual data, camera data. You might want some, grid data from a company like Daylight or Star Power, some of these others. And it really becomes much more interesting to build. Now that I almost think of DeepIn as like, how are we building the best, most verified, the most trusted picture of the real world and all of the stuff that's around it, and people are starting to realize that that's an incredibly powerful asset to create this real world picture, and there's no limit to the value you can extract from that asset once it's created and verified.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Actually, it's this digital twin or replicator of the world that you're trying to create, and kind of enable this interaction between also the digital twin versions of these devices. It's quite interesting, and what you guys are doing. But very good. I had some points I wanted to discuss this general deepen topic with you, and we did that. But look, we also made this AMA because of the launch of your new flagship product. So, tell me more about it. I mean, this is, I think, your third product, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
It came through an evolution. What is very interesting for me is, for example, like regarding the functionalities and the price point of this, you guys started with something that was very high end, and then you created something that is more scalable and it's more affordable, and then this seems something in between. So, man, curious to hear from you, and why did you guys came up to build LTR1?
So you're right. We started with the AutoPi, which is a great device. And in particular, it's a Raspberry Pi. It gave us a lot of customization, a lot of flexibility in the firmware. But it was a little expensive. It's a little bit bulky. There's OBD2 devices have been around for years and years and years. So there are much smaller models. We made the Macaron, collaborated with some great partners on that. The fact that we left out LTE connectivity in favor of using the Helium network was, in our mind, it was really innovative, because there really haven't been widely available LoRaWAN hardware devices for vehicles in the past. We were able to bring down costs. So most of those devices, they're sending an average of about 35 cents worth of data per month, which compared to LTE costs is a fraction of what most LTE devices send. Now, it's a lot less data. So depending on the application that you have, if you only need to keep track of your car, if you don't need real-time data, if you can put up with some connectivity loss because the Helium network is not completely pervasive everywhere, it's a really great device. It's a really cheap option. For $100, you get 3 years connectivity. But as we think about scaling and as we aim to bring DIMO to the world, there are, just in the US, 300 million cars on the roads, and about 280 million of those are older vehicles that have no native connectivity. So there's millions and millions of cars that need some form of device that gets plugged in order to stream data. The company we worked with is out of Lithuania. They're a company called Riptela. They've been manufacturing vehicle devices and fleet interfaces for the last 2 decades. They have a highly scalable manufacturing process. They can make devices, tens of thousands of devices in 4 weeks' time. And not only is the hardware really built to scale, and it's a just much more capable device, but as a partner, they're global. They can help us scale as well. So they're actually going to help us. And this device will help us open up new countries and new markets. We will aim to be in Latin America early next year. We'll aim to be in our first countries in Asia early next year. And all of the users that are using the R1 are just going to have a much more seamless experience, much better data experience, and in general, just have a much more reliable and dependable DIMO experience.
Very cool. So it's more expensive than the previous device because it has LTE, connectivity. Yeah. But help me out here. How come you could reduce the price compared to AutoPi? Was it just because it's a newer technology, or is it because you guys, did something different?
Yeah, I mean the main reduction in cost there is of course using specialized boards. The AutoPi is built off a Raspberry Pi. It's a little overbuilt, frankly.
Of course. Yeah.
One cool thing about the AutoPi that will continue to exist in our ecosystem, and we still have some AutoPis, and many people have them. It is a very interesting concept to push applications down to the device itself. And the Raspberry Pi is effectively an edge computer that's in the car. And in the next couple of years, we will open up the ability for developers to run applications at the edge. So one developer that we worked with for a little bit, he was using his AutoPi, and it never really made it past the test phase. But he was using his AutoPi to create voice activation in his car. So he could actually, tell the car, "Hey, roll down the windows," and it would, the AutoPi would actually send the command and roll down the windows in his car. That comes with really, really sensitive considerations like security. How are you making sure that that everything is data is properly managed, that I can't send a command to your car. And it's just stuff that we've kind of pushed further out in the roadmap. So the new devices are not going to be quite as capable when it comes to the edge compute that they can handle. They can buffer some data, they can send it later, they have some of those capabilities, but they're not going to be running fully fledged applications on their own. That is something that we'll come back to in the future as part of DIMO, but it's just something that is a little bit overkill for what people need today.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I mean, look, also the first device I think was designed 2-3 years ago,
Yeah.
and in always in hardware designs, if Apple and Samsung are every year coming up with a new device, just because the tech stack improves, right? Even with edge
Yeah.
computers and chips and so on, they're getting smaller, more efficient. So it's very normal for a hardware to evolve. And also based on the learnings that you guys have, right? We're never perfect, in my opinion. We're
Yeah.
also kind of startups, right? So, and this deepen model has never been launched before, if you be frank, right? So there's always learnings that we all do. It's the same story with us. Again, such a pity that I cannot share yet our new product, but same story. We also learned a lot of lessons during our last 1.5-2 years post launch of our product. That's why we started to build the second product, which is different. And a lot of different projects are same story from what I see.
Yeah, you learn more, the tech stack evolves, and I think one of the most interesting things is you start to really hone in on the trade-offs that will help you achieve product market fit. From our perspective, we realized, we still believe, as I said, in the vision of edge compute that this, the AutoPi can offer. That's going to be a very important part of people's vehicle experience, and the software that runs in vehicles is how can you modularize that compute. But for the average driver today, they don't really need that. And the connected car experience is still so nascent for most people that we're like in a point where we need applications like email to show people the very basics of what a connected car can do before we're having them set up their own servers and running building their own apps. But we are going to continue to see kind of a faster and faster pace of evolution in the connected car world. And of course, we'll actually probably ship our fourth device, another partner. It'll be fairly similar to this device that's coming out, with some other changes. But we have more partners that are interested in shipping devices. We'll probably ship our fourth one early next year. So we're also picking up the pace at which we can update hardware.
Cool. So actually bridging this to let's say from hardware to smartphones, I know you guys are tapping also recently, not recently, but recently you're pushing this Tesla, let's say, integration that is possible. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you have quite a lot of your users already being Tesla users with smartphone. If I'm not wrong, I saw a number around 20%. And this is a quite high number. And the fact that you have, 20, 30,000 Tesla vehicles connected to you. I just want to know, what's your strategy there? also connecting into the edge computer, because Tesla is the biggest edge computer out there
Yep.
on two wheels, in my opinion. So I want to see like how you guys see it, how you're where is Tesla in this whole game for you guys and
Yeah.
whole ecosystem.
Tesla's a super interesting player. So I think, the thing that they've done in the software and in the connectivity space is they were the first to really open up their APIs. And their APIs had been kind of open, some I would call it semi-open. They semi-opened them. A bunch of other engineers reverse engineered parts of it, and Tesla didn't really stop people. For a few years, they said, "Hey, our APIs are open." In the last year, they started to formalize that developer program, and they created the ability for developers to go and create a relationship. It's not widely open. We were in a pretty small cohort that was able to get this kind of a partnership with them. And so their openness of their APIs is really pretty novel in the vehicle space. They're pushing other car makers to think about that. And another really interesting thing that they've done, totally different from what any other automaker is doing, is they are allowing the car itself to send this data to DIMO. So most automakers, data goes from the car to, let's say, Ford servers. And then if you're using a software connection with DIMO, you're actually connecting from, within the DIMO app, you're connecting to the Ford server. In the case of Tesla, you're connecting directly to the car, which is a pretty amazing innovation on their part. And really, it's more decentralized. Of course, you're skipping this centralized server. We believe that you're not quite able to run. You can send some commands. You can unlock the Tesla and these things from the APIs. We believe that eventually this will look more and more just like running computation. And these cars are effectively compute that can be monetized, and those applications, whether it's an AI that lives in the car, it can be downloaded to the vehicle. It might be multiple agents that help you with different tasks like maintenance or games and things like that. But ultimately, this is a huge opportunity for automakers to really capitalize on the promise of what connected cars can be, which is a computer on wheels. And so it's a step. I certainly Tesla, even the Tesla relationship that we have is early, and there's a lot more that can come out of it, but it's a step towards this vision of every car being a computer that can run applications, connect to applications, can handle federated learning. Like the sky's the limit on what the car can do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let me actually, so I have a very interesting take on this though, because people
Yeah,
ask me as
please.
well when we talk with guys, and they're like, wouldn't Tesla at some point stop sharing data? Why would they share it with DIMO or whatnot? And I say, look, you don't realize what Tesla is doing. They're creating the iPhones of cars, right? And if you
Right.
remember, before iPhone, we had, a few, let's say, phone manufacturers like Ericsson, and then each one of these, or Nokia, and then each one of these guys were building their own apps, right? So it was very much
Yep.
like siloed, and there was no like app store or developer portal and things like that. So what Apple did with App Store, they said, okay, we have this device. We're going to open the door towards the developer. You can access the sensors, you can access the data that this device is generating to create applications. And suddenly, I mean, it's a little bit counterintuitive at that point, for a lot of these guys, because they were like, okay, we're losing part of the pie. But what actually ended up happening was that the utility of this phone that they created was so much higher that nobody wanted to touch a Nokia or Ericsson. And this is exactly, I mean, Naval had a tweet, and he wrote, basically Tesla and Google are going to be the iPhone and basically the iPhones of cars, right? So I totally see it the same way. I think what Tesla is doing different is that they want the cars to be a platform rather than just a simple device.
Yeah.
And once you're a platform, your utility is just not comparable with these cars that are not platforms. So it's just gonna, the other guys are either going to die or they have to catch up.
Yeah, and a lot of people talk the whole like Google, Apple trying to get into cars thing comes up all the time. And very important point to make for those in the audience. we're not talking about CarPlay and Android Auto, and those things are relevant. But generally speaking, the infotainment system, that screen where you put on your music and have your maps, that screen is actually walled off from the computers that are deeper in the car. So that screen is the infotainment system. Automakers have gone back and forth with Apple and Google about whether you can have CarPlay, whether you can't. Pretty much everyone wants CarPlay. Even so, some of the automakers are taking it out. But more importantly, Google and Apple are happy to be in the infotainment system. They have had their eyes on the deeper computers in the car for a decade. And they have said, well, look, we can bring the operating system. We can help power this. That has been the goal of Google and Apple, is to get in there. And whether or not they eventually do, I think is almost irrelevant, because Google and Apple both have the mentality that, and they, look at Apple, like their success is driven by the App Store. It's not driven by the Apple apps. It's not Apple Music that most people get an iPhone for. It's, they're using Spotify or others. It's not, the utilities, the alarm clock, and these other things. And so this concept of bringing an app store to the car is what connected vehicles are going to be all about. And it's just a whole lot of jockeying amongst all these technology partners that are trying to figure out how do we make that happen. And then interestingly, one of those dinosaur phone companies that failed at the phone world, BlackBerry, is now one of the major players in vehicle operating systems. And so BlackBerry is actually deeper into the car than Google or Apple are today. And they pivoted. Once they lost the phone battle, they said, well, what's the next biggest connected device that we can go get? And it's cars. And so that's been their business for a while. And I think, we can play. What makes DIMO unique is that we can play with any level of depth that those providers go after. And very importantly, we can bring all these older vehicles online. So, by bringing and connecting all of these older vehicles, we're sort of creating the pool and creating the proof points that say, hey, look, this DIMO operating system that we have and this infrastructure can work with, whether it's BlackBerry or Google or Apple or Ford or GM, whoever. We can play nice with everyone.
Exactly. And you saying this actually, I think smartphone has been my number one choice in Deepen. I think the second best choice in Deepen to tap into existing infrastructure. I think what Borderless calls it commodity hardware would be cars, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's the direction that we are going. For you guys, it's the sensors of the car. For us, explicitly, it's the cameras of the car, which we can do a lot with it. And you can do a lot of other things. You can provide in-vehicle services. You can provide other, let's say, data enabled services, not even for the drivers, but like us, we're doing mapping and new services for the autonomous driving and things like that. So yeah, I think I'm bullish on cars right after smartphones, if you ask me. And that's why BlackBerry did the same thing, as you said. They have been bullish, I guess, earlier than me even.
And I actually think there's going to be continued deeper and deeper, like connectivity, not even connectivity, but like the experiences that you have in your car and your phone are going to get more and more intertwined. Camera data is a very interesting one to think about that, where like, your car has some cameras and kind of plays an important role in autonomous driving and things like that. And, there's going to come a time, not too distant future, where like you're going to want that camera access on your phone as well. And, whether that's to, typical dash cam kinds of use cases or security purposes or just analytics, like you're going to have a very deep connection to your car through your phone. And that's, especially for younger generations, it's going to be natural to them that their entire phone experience or their entire car experience is really driven through the apps they use on their phone and the connection of those apps to their vehicle.
Yeah, look, for us, for example, it's a 360 camera that the car has, or most of the new cars have. And to build that hardware for us, let's say for the applications that we are having, it's going to cost north of $2,000 to just build a 360 good camera.
Yeah.
Then here it comes. It's already in a car, and we can tap into that hopefully in the future. And I mean, it's a jackpot, and then from many other different aspects too. That's why I think up until now I have been saying smartphone is the killer device for deepen. And I think my next device would be that vehicles are the killer device for deepen. It's gonna maybe take a few years for the APIs to be fully open. The way that I see it, I think you agreed with me. I think other auto companies, they're going to get bullied by Tesla to do this because they cannot compete with them if they don't. And the way that I see it is that in 3 to 5 years they have to do it just because Tesla did it. Otherwise, they have to go bankrupt. And that's where Deepin comes in, because it's gonna be very interesting for us, because we can tap into all of those devices and monetize them in various different ways, and we know how to do it.
Yeah. I think how one question, and how are you guys building the data union? Are you guys using infrastructure that is created? Or are you kind of doing that on your own? How are the customers tapping into this?
What do you mean by the data union? Just for me to
Well,
get it.
like, how is the data being pooled? And I suppose, like, is there, are you creating various groups of data out of the NATIX data set of different, like, hey, well, this is, a geographically categorized set?
Yeah. We actually have a dashboard right now. It's also going to go live very, very soon, and then another one
Cool.
for the customers. So we're basically categorizing the data based on location and based on the type of what we call map attributes that we have, generated basically via the camera. So it's the traffic sign, it's other mobility objects, it's trees, all different kinds of let's say map attributes that we're collecting. And when somebody is interested, they can search by location or they can search by map attributes to get to where they want. So you can say that I want all of the traffic signs, let's say stop signs in New York, and define a region and then get all of the data there. And you can also define the time period, right? Because in mapping, the time that the data or the freshness of the data is very important. So you can say I want all of the signs that are in the past detected in the past 1 week or
Right.
2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then the system also smartly basically calculates or basically provides if there was a new sign that is detected or a sign that was detected and then a couple of times it was not detected by another car passing by. So we add map attributes, but we also remove map attributes from our database. So yeah, this is kind of how we're doing it. But yeah, we're doing it ourselves. I think this is very hard for us to outsource at the moment. So we're doing it ourselves. How come?
Cool. Oh, how come I'm asking? Just interested in kind of this demand side and how it's coming together.
Yeah.
And we've actually been talking with some data union companies. There's a handful out there that are trying to build some of the, I guess, infrastructure to make these data unions possible. And I've had some. At the end of the day, it all comes down. Whenever you're building a data marketplace, there's been so many data marketplaces, and I think many teams, at least that I've seen, have tried to build very generic marketplaces. We can host any kind of data and find any kind of buyer. You guys are the opposite. It's a very specific kind of data, and you know exactly the kinds of buyers that are out there. And that's kind of always my gripe with some of the data businesses, is they try to go too generic. And so we're working with some now that are interested in setting up data unions on top of DIMO. Again, this concept that, like, look, we will work with some developers on our own at DIMO, but we can also empower others to go, take a subset of our data and bring that to a market that they know better than we do. And we're just getting some of those stood up, and I think that's going to help just increase the utility of the data overall, and then the value of the asset.
No, I think that's actually very smart, and you're right. I think by nature our business is a little bit more targeted in terms of the type of data that we deal with. So it's easy, right? We have like 20, 30 list of map attributes that we need to extract. And these are super interesting. We're doing some of them, and we're in the process of extracting more of these kind of data points. But very similar to you guys, we're also using part of the data to improve certain user experiences for our own users. Like navigation is something we launched recently, and it's using the data of the network, for example, for the live traffic and the routing algorithm that is enabled by the live traffic layer. So we're actually injecting that data back into the system and improving the quality of service for the user. But we are also working on granular use cases. But yeah, for us is also, I'd be very honest with you, like it's also a learning curve. Like as I said, like there is a list of 30 map attributes that we can extract from the road whenever a camera is passing by. So and it's different for different jurisdictions. They have different pain points, right? Especially Western versus, let's say, less developed countries when it comes to extracting these informations. It's very different. So we're also trying to work with these guys to find out like what information to extract, because we do everything on the edge at the moment. So we cannot do everything at the same time. We need to kind of select, and it's also unnecessary to capture imagery, because the base levels of the maps are already in a very, very good stand with something like OpenStreetMap and different vendors. So we are really focusing on the dynamic layer, and on the dynamic layer, there's a lot of different, let's say, needs in different regions. So very similar to you guys also, we're going very much region by region, and we're kind of identifying how does each region work, what kind of data we need to collect, and a bunch of other things that is tied to, I don't know, emission and other factors.
Amazing. Well, cool. I think that we maybe wanted some AMA time. Is that right?
Exactly. So the next is AMA. Albus, maybe you can ask the questions to the community.
Of course. Now, thanks, guys. Appreciate the discussion. It was amazing to hear. But yeah, let's give the community a bit of chance to ask their own questions too. So we have actually just a few pre-gathered ones, and then if time allows, again, I'll give you guys the mic for anyone who wants to ask their own questions. So going with the first one, Alex, I think this is directed to you. What was the reason for naming your newest device the DIMO LTE R1 and not keeping actually Macaron in the name like Macaron 2.0 or V2? Because to his opinion, it does look like an upgraded Macaron.
Yeah, these OBD2 devices are they all look pretty similar. We and I mentioned a fourth device that's probably coming early next year, also going to be similar shape and size, of course. We wanted just something that was a little bit more, a little simpler, to be honest. Like the Macaron it was named after a type of cookie, and our hardware engineer was kind of just inspired one day by this cookie, and we called it that. And I don't even know how well that name translates into some languages. And so we decided to keep things very simple, kind of create a more standardized, maybe it's a little boring, but I don't think so, a more standardized nomenclature for these devices. So R1, nice and simple, and we'll have an X1 in the not too distant future.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. So that's like a freshened up new name, right? Going into at least the next set of hardwares.
Yep.
It's good. Well, okay. Going into the second one, I think this goes to you again. So there's, I believe it's a new user. So he's asking what kind of ROI in terms of months can a frequent driver anticipate when using the new device? So the LTE R1.
Yeah. So unlike mapping DPINs, DIMO doesn't care how much you drive. Because the goal of DIMO is to build up a complete picture of the health of the car over a long period of time, we incentivize length of connection. So people build up a streak over time that rewards you more and more of the pool based on how long you've been connected. So that's what we incentivize. I think that I don't honestly pay that close attention to the rewards, and the way that we have things set up is the more people that join a smaller, everyone's rewards get cut down a little bit because the pool stays the same. I think it's a couple of months at this point, probably like 4 or 5 months for an ROI on these devices. Obviously, that can go up and down with token price as well. And because we have opportunities in the marketplace, for a new user who gets a device, keeps it plugged in for several months, and then let's say you book maintenance or you use some of the other partners in the marketplace, we have these exclusive deals that kind of boost the value you can get out of it. You can make a referral, all these sorts of things. So there's always more ways to earn.
Yeah, definitely. That makes total sense. I mean, of course, in a few more months, since it's very new, right? I think you just launched it like a week or 2 weeks ago. A few more months, people will have a better idea of in terms of like concrete ROIs as well. But yeah, all right. Going to the third one, this is going to both you guys. So, will we see an integration with NATIX and DIMO at some point? I mean, I'm guessing besides co-marketing efforts, the marketplace integrations, maybe something more.
Alex, maybe I can take this first
Yeah.
because I do have some. So for us, what is interesting right now is getting more of the car's behavior when driving, and this has been very very interesting for us. So I still have something that I will discuss with Alex, but this information can be extracted from the OBD, and we're going to use it for really really interesting applications where we have demand. So yes, expect a real integration beyond just co-marketing efforts. But yeah, it might take a few more months for us to do it, but definitely, I mean, that's why I was also very excited to have Alex here, because I think in the next 6 months we're going to see more collaborations than even in the last 6 months.
We have talked about this. What the community should know is that we have been already talking about this for a while, and it's just a matter of finding the right timing. DIMO side, we've been working on RS APIs and RSDK. We've had to get a lot of pieces ready for that. So it's kind of a matter of just like building towards one another, and eventually we go from the Venn diagrams come and overlap enough that it happens. So I think that this is certainly something that'll happen in the future, and it's already been something we've been discussing for a while.
Yeah. And I mean, it goes. I mean, I can tell people a couple of things, Alex, that we have also discussed. We jumped on multiple calls, even with Afghani and a couple of other people from our team. DIMO can be a very good extra validator in terms of authenticity of the user's behavior and the data, because it's hardware based. So we have a lot of mechanisms in place for smartphone that avoids farming and anti-cheating, but still hardware is you have a chip inside that can sign messages, cryptographic approach, and it's a different story. So this has been one of the things, and now we're also looking into grabbing really car data to basically increase the value of the data that a camera generates, for me to put it very very simply. So I think once you have the car behavior data together with the imagery, it can actually do or feed into a lot of autonomous driving applications, which would yeah, let's say individually they're not worth that much, but when you combine them together, it solves a real pain point, which people at the end of the day are paying a lot of money for.
Yep.
Amazing. Right. That's quite exciting to hear. And I think everyone's looking forward to that. We'll keep the new developments. Obviously, as soon as something goes on, we'll announce all of that. But yeah, I think there's one last question on the pre-gathered ones. What is the current roadmap for NATIX? It goes the same for DIMO as well. Any big game-changing events coming? I think you guys touched a little bit of point, both, but maybe very shortly you can go and speak about your roadmap.
Ali, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So from our side, as I said, we were working on a new product which we're going to launch, and for the past few months, as we have been very heavily working on the demand side of the story. So things are actually coming to fruition to the point that we can present them, and it's going to be a lot of good news in the next few months. But so we're actually signing off the first customers for the data of smartphones, the mapping data of the smartphones, and this new product, which I'm very much interested. We did it a little bit different because we already have some experience, and let's say the critical mass is less required. We are lining up actually customers from day one of shipping the product. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. That's what we have been working on for the past few months. As it has been a little bit of radio silence from our side, just because we have been heads down building right after token launch. Token launch is a very noisy, I would say, event for every project. If you ask me, it actually is something that I don't wish for anyone in the industry, just because it's very difficult, and it just defocuses the founders, in my opinion. It's part of the job, and the fact that we have a crypto, I think, Alex, you can confirm that it makes the whole business model more potent, right? That's why we can build the network much, much faster. But it's a double-edged sword, in my opinion. So now that we have the baby out, and both baby and the mother are in a good condition, then time to focus on what actually matters, which is what we have been doing for the past few months.
Yeah, we've been focused on what amounts to one really big project, but has two individual outcomes. So one thing we realized, both in the supply side, but also in the demand side, as we went and worked with developers, is that and this is no surprise, the crypto user experience, creating wallets and logins and things like that, a year ago, just not good enough. So we've spent pretty much the last 6 months building an entirely new, what we call global account model. And these smart accounts, it's account abstraction. These smart accounts are going to be embedded into the DIMO mobile app. So it's going to become much easier for people to onboard their cars. It will become, we're taking away the whole wallet creation step. The wallet gets created. It just happens in the background with a passkey. But if you have been one of those people who loves DIMO, wants to introduce your friends and family to it, but said, hey, they will never understand this crypto piece, the crypto almost completely fades to the background. The rewards are still there, but the whole wallet experience is in the background. Now, the global accounts part of this means that we are actually also providing this infrastructure, this ability to leverage these accounts, this account abstraction. We're giving that to other developers too. So as we work with demand side partners, they will become unblocked, basically, some of our customers unblocked, to be able to implement DIMO into their apps, provide vehicle connections, provide new services, and start consuming the DIMO data. So it's been a huge upgrade. We're going to be spending the rest of October testing that, and we'll ship the mobile app upgrade at the end of October. And then we're shipping these global accounts in November so that we can start onboarding partners.
That's awesome. Really nice to hear. All right, thank you both, guys. Without spending too much time, I'm going into some of the other questions that we've received. There's a lot, actually, but I'll just choose one or two, and I see William as well as requested. So right after this question, William, I'll give you access to your mic. But yeah, I see one from Decentralized Rob. It's quite mind-boggling and funny, actually, saying, "Great convo, guys. How long until we see a wallet linked to a car, so it can connect to mobility-based difference, charging stations, apps, etc.?"
So this is actually a lot of what we've been working on. It will come a little bit. I mentioned this whole global accounts upgrade. Part of the global accounts upgrade includes the foundation for transactions and payments and subscriptions. And what we have done, and what we're doing, is the user will have what's called this smart account on chain, and that smart account is capable of course, signing payments, even handling subscriptions, all kinds of payment infrastructure. So we have there will be some more work in 2025 for us to kind of layer in more of the pieces of that developer platform. But part of our new SDK is a transactions API that will allow developers to leverage this. And so, our hardware devices have a secure element. They have a wallet in them already, and they're capable of sending transactions. So this will be live sometime next year, where let's say you want to use and it doesn't have to be a DPIN is the thing. It can be a regular charging company's infrastructure. You would be able to pay from your DIMO account. You'd be able to sign up for a subscription, and any developer will be able to leverage that using our SDKs.
That's amazing. Thanks, Alex. Well, I mean, decentralized drop, it appears not, you don't have to wait long. It's coming next year, hopefully. So, all right, William, I'll give you access to your mic right now. You should be able to in like a second. I think you're muted if you want to use your mic now.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I couldn't hear anything there for a second. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for letting me up here. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of both DIMO and NATIX. I've been using them for quite some time. Alex, it's great meeting you again. Happy to meet you in person at Consensus, man. It was freaking awesome meeting you. Alireza, I think this is our first time meeting on Spaces, so happy to meet you finally. Again, just avid fan of both of your applications. I've been using them for a long time. Super happy to hear that you guys are looking at like doing some like more like unifying efforts in the future. Maybe we'll get an all-in-one app where DIMO and NATIX are the same thing, right? Who knows, right? But I just again I kind of have one question here. A lot of my questions are already answered. Thank you to the audience and everything for posting those. It's more so directed to Alireza. For the NATIX app, I've noticed that when I'm using it, like when I'm driving with it, I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max. I don't notice any like indicators on whether like the type of camera I have, the type of phone I have matters in terms of more like kind of points being allocated to me, as well as the camera placement for my phone. So my question is there going to be updates in the future that kind of give users indicators on like, oh, like the placement of your camera like right here on your dashboard matters more than like the right side or the left side, or maybe even the type of phone I have? Like, will there be indicators or kind of like a list to look at in terms of more points being allocated, or if it matters at all?
Yeah. Well, the short answer is that the way that we are collecting the data, it actually up to this point, it doesn't matter. There is a preferred setup of your phone, which is put it in the middle of the, let's say, pointing out in the middle of the car so that you have maximum field of view, pointing to the street, right? So that we can capture as much data as possible. If your phone is, kind of covered by something, or half of it is the hood of your car, then obviously there is less on the road for it to detect. But even if there is some hood of the car, is the computer vision AI that still detects the traffic signs and pedestrians and traffic lights and things like that, right? So there is no difference at the end of the day. There is an optimal setup, but there is no like perfect setup at the end of the day, because we're not collecting street level imagery. We're launching a new product where we're collecting granular footages, not footages, but images for training AIs for very granular stuff like road constructions, and there it actually matters. So we're going to launch a new program very soon for that. And you told me about the phone model and basically the camera quality. So for us, it's very difficult because there's the wide variety of phone models and different. I mean, on Apple, it's easier because they're all using Bionic chipset. But if you go to Android, it's a lot of different chipsets that they're using. So it's very difficult for us to really tell you, how good the chipset is. But basically, it just reflects in your points. When you're having an older phone which has a weaker chipset, then that's when your phone starts overheating a little bit, or you earn less because the computation capability of your phone is lower than a brand new, let's say, iPhone 15. So technically it's very difficult. What we have been working on right now, and it's also something that we have on the pipeline, is the more kind of AI detections that you're adding to our app, at the end of the day it comes to you choosing how many of them you want to deploy. and detect, and what is the reward, let's say, in your region, and what is the computational capacity that is required. So basically, we're writing a piece of software that kind of more or less measures and run these things very, very, let's say, amateurly. It just runs it on the device, and it kind of measures how these perform on your chip. And then it's gonna kind of tell you, okay, if you, let's say, if you turn on like these 4 or 5 detections, it's already 80% of your computation power. So you probably don't want to go over that, just because it's irrelevant. Or on the other side, if your computation power is not enough, then you should probably just run this 1 or 2 models at max. I hope that answers your questions.
Oh, it does. Thank you so much. I was going to say, you mentioned overheating, and I live in Florida. I really need to get my windows tinted because my phone, when I'm using NATIX, man, it's on the dash. It just heats up like a freaking pan, like a frying pan. It's hilarious. But no, thank you so much for answering my questions. I can't wait to see what the future holds for both your applications. Again, avid user here. I'm making 2 videos right now on both your both NATIX and DIMO, so I'm
Nice.
hoping to get those out pretty soon.
Cool.
I would love to have both of you on the podcast sometime too, if you're ever interested.
Happy to.
Amazing. All right. Thanks, William. Guys, we have unfortunately run out of time. So I mean, there's multiple other questions which I can see on our Discord. But yeah, I mean, join DIMO's community or our community, and we'll make sure to answer any question that's left. But yeah, I think we can wrap it up. Adi, Alex.
Yeah, sounds good. Alex, thank you again for joining our community. It's, every time we have a conversation, it's always super fun because we share a lot of things. I mean, our business models are very similar in certain senses. So it's always good nerding out about what's happening and how we see the future. So yeah, thanks again for dropping by, and excited for this new device that you guys have also dropped. So we're going to push it out in our marketplace, and
Yeah.
I think we're going to push you a lot of hopefully faithful, nodes.
Yeah, thanks, Alireza, as always. Glad to be here, and maybe we'll do this again, maybe before another year, but I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Definitely.
For sure.
All right, everyone.
For sure.
Thank you so much, and have a nice Thursday.
Thank you,
Bye,
guys. And in the meantime, please stay tuned for the LTE R1 device winner announcement. It will likely go out early tomorrow. And yeah, we'll send the winner a DM. And for everyone else, as Ali mentioned, you can find basically all DIMO's products, including the LTE R1, on the Drive-In Marketplace, where you can enjoy the discount. So yeah, make sure to give some love to DIMO, guys. Give them a follow, join their communities. And with that said, we'll see you soon on our next AMA. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.